And when stars are in light, the weeper, we would know.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Improving Sales Performance Livecast. We are so excited, not only about today, but about this entire month of Improving Sales Performance Livecast. It's just going to be absolutely incredible. It's a little different than normal in the sense that we have a guest host, which I'll introduce in 1 second. But this whole month, we are celebrating, honoring, recognizing the impact that women have made in sales, both in the past and also in the current, the present, and certainly in the future. And all month long, we are having some of the most impressive, and you're going to absolutely love this, most impressive women doing great work in the sales industry, real leaders in the industry that happen to be women, which is fantastic. In order to do this live cast justice, we wanted to bring in one of our partners here at the Center for Sales Strategy as our guest host. You've seen Stephanie on the show before as a guest, but today she gets to be a guest host. So Stephanie, welcome. Glad to have you. Stephanie is a partner and a senior VP consultant at the Center for Sales Strategy. And we've worked together now 14 years, 15 years.
Yeah,
longer,
15. Yeah.
Forever, a long time. So
are you saying we're old?
We are. I am. A few things, few housekeeping things. Number one, if you're joining us live, feel free to leave a comment. We'd love to know where you're watching us from. What state are you in? What's the weather like? Go ahead and leave a comment. We always like to see that. But also, if you have any questions that you want to ask, feel free to leave the questions and we'll do our best to try to comment on those or get to those. We're about 18 to 30 seconds delayed typically. So if you ask a burning question and we don't acknowledge it right away, just know that we will get to it. And then the second thing is, whether you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, if you like what you see, please go to our YouTube channel and like, subscribe, and share. But only if you like what you're seeing. We really want people that enjoy the show. They want to see more of it. Mm-hmm. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and help us spread the word. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie to do introductions and jump in. Here we go.
Yes. Perfect. So you use the word impact in sales organizations. Well, I've had the privilege of working with Nicki and Jess for a lot of years here now. I've kind of lost count, I have to admit. But let me do quick high-level introductions of both of you, and then we'll just jump right into the questions. So joining us, Nicki Harkrider-Probey is the VP of Local Revenue Officer for TEGNA. And Nicki started her career a number of years ago on the national side. Nicki has owned her own business. She has been through all levels of management at the station WFAA, and you've been on the corporate team now for 5 years. So, but you were really responsible for overall sales revenue development across, from a TV side, but also from a digital side, but also from a sales organization transformation. So you have, a very high level global view, which I think is going to bring some interesting insights to our conversation today. And then Jess, cannot believe that you were almost a year into your new position as the president and general manager of the TEGNA stations in Boise and Twin Falls. But before that, Jess was the director of sales at the King and Kong affiliate in Seattle, where you spent a number of years as the DOS, but also had a number of other roles in that organization, from content and local programming and leading the sales charge in the sales organization. So we are thrilled to have both of you with us today. It is lovely to have you.
Thank you, Steph.
So let's dive in. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, so question for both of you. Nicki, coming to you first, and then Jess, you can follow up on this one. But so when you think about key performance indicators, and you really think about those metrics that you look at on a regular basis in the sales department, from your point of view, what is it that you're looking at to really know if the team is on track, if things are going well? Nicki first.
Yeah, so Stephanie, I'll say I try to ask myself, am I looking at the same thing when I was director of sales at WFA in Dallas that I am in this role? And I know you said bringing that viewpoint of a higher corporate global view, but I did ask myself that, and it's really the same thing. So what's so interesting? And for me, obviously everybody on this call, that we are all very focused on our KPIs. And so whatever that looks for anyone, but for me, when we talk about 3 to 5 things, Stephanie, I really put that in a bucket together as one bullet point. So that, for probably most people on the call, have several things underneath that one bullet point of what you're looking at for KPIs. But I look at that holistically and say, okay, how are they doing towards their budget performance in the organization in those different areas? So I look at that, number one, obviously. Number two, I look also really closely at year over year revenue and advertiser growth. And the reason for that is I'm just a big believer in the long game and really behavior. And if you're seeing year over year revenue growth and number of, for us, customers that you're bringing into the organization, we know we're living out our mission. We know that we're really growing. This year the last 2 years has been crazy to nail a budget the appropriate way. So I really look at that. I look at it year over year, how the line is moving, what the trend looks like, both from an advertiser standpoint and the revenue. I also really look at a sales organization's depth. So, and again, I asked my question, did I do the same thing when I was at WFAA? And I did. I want to see all of my AEs in green. I want to see that everyone, or the large majority of the organization, is seeing and feeling and experiencing success that we see in green. And I just think that that's not only just because I want to see it in green. I want to know that they're experiencing that success. I want to know that they're feeling great about their jobs. And when you really get the depth of the organization, there, and there's a high percentage of people performing, that really leads to a great culture, a great team, a great feeling. So I always look for that, because that's definitely an indicator on the success of the sales organization. And then that goes into the last thing, Stephanie, is I just say feeling. I just came back from Denver, and I just told them I can be on the floor and feel, and that's not a KPI necessarily, but for me it is. I can feel if there's really great mojo, if there's really great feelings. And I just think, we need to love our jobs. I think the passion that comes through to that and how we serve our customers is so important. So it's that feeling as well that I really look at to say, how's that sales organization gelled? How are they performing? But that's really those 4 things that I consistently look for.
Yeah. And, to that point, and then Jess, I'm coming to you. You laughed about feeling is not really a performance metric. No, it's not. but it's real. I mean, it is about the culture, right? It's the engagement on the team. It's when you have that feeling of positivity, it's more likely that the team's performing as a result when you sense that in the sales organization. That's a real thing. It just may not be something tangible that we can look at, feeling check. We may not score that on 1 to 10, right? Jess, what would you add to that?
Well, it's so funny because, I wrote down some notes, but that was actually one of the exact same things I wrote down, Nicki, was like that vibe, that feeling you get when you look around the sales floor, you look around at the team, and it's like, are people cheering each other on? Is there good morale? Is there good mojo? But interestingly, it was easier to see 18 months ago when you were sitting, with that team. A little bit harder to see when people are working combination remote in office. But I do notice it showing up even on Zoom calls, and you can tell in that level of engagement, right? Like, are people cheering each other on in the chat? Are they giving each other virtual high fives? Are they sharing ideas? Are they sharing how they got that win? But, the other things I really look at on top of what Nicki said are those really controllable things. Some things are driven by the market. So I look a lot at controllable elements, and I think about business development in broadcast enterprise business and digital, in number of new accounts. And then I also look at account retention, because one of the things I think a lot about is, did we do our job for that client? Did we perform? Did we help them hit their goals? And if they did, I hope they come back. I hope they come back again and again, and we get the opportunity to keep working with them.
Yeah. So you use the word mojo and the importance of that and the feeling of it. But, one of the things knowing, working with you so closely when you were a DOS, you were fantastic at building culture. You did a really good job at making sure the team was aligned and sharing the vision and making sure culture was a focus. And you obviously are still thinking about that even in your role now when you were talking about it's harder over Zoom, but you're naturally listening for some of those opportunities. And we should, right? It's so important.
Yeah, I think a couple of the comments that were made, one by someone that we all know really well, John Henley. He's right. And sometimes the things that count the most are the hardest to measure. And it is that intangible. If there was a way to put a revenue number next to the importance of culture, I think we'd all pay a lot more attention to it, right? But it's hard. It's hard to do that. And then someone else said, Amy said, when you accomplish the culture, you can accomplish the tough KPIs. And we all know that to be true, but I don't think we can say it too often, right? Yeah. It's that important.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so was that all the comments, Matt? I'm going to ask another question.
That was it, yeah.
Okay.
I'll keep looking.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so thinking about sales managers and what they focus on, and you think about the big rocks in their day, of the things that they should consistently be looking at and highest priority. Jess, what would be the few things you would point to as the big rocks?
I mean, I think the first one is what we just spoke about. It's morale, it's culture. So to me, that's one of the big things that's super important. And while I think, everyone on the team contributes, sales managers have to lead that, right? They have to believe it. They have to lead it. They have to live it. I mean, that has to be led from those sales managers, and they have to be in tune and checking in with their people. I think the other big thing, and as things have become so much easier to see as far as the KPIs, you don't spend as much time pulling reports and things anymore. So you can spend a lot more time in coaching and developing. And I think that's one of the other really big responsibilities. And one of the really fun parts of being a sales manager is that time spent with people and really helping them see success, in turn helping their clients see success. I think the other thing is recruitment. One of the other things to just, and we're seeing this, and I think probably starting to see it even more than we have over the past 18 months, but people are doing, life evaluations. They're deciding they want to keep doing what they've been doing. So I think keeping that robust talent pipeline full and making sure that you are recruiting, and then kind of working on what does that next gen of great sales people look like, and how do they discover your industry? How do they become prepared to join the industry? I think recruitment is huge.
Yeah, that is, that's always an important conversation. But when you hear the language, war on talent and all of it's
so true.
It is so true, is it not? Yeah. So, Nicki, what would you add to that as far as the big rocks?
Yeah, well, I totally agree with Jess. And I'll probably verbalize it this way. For me, it's all about people and it's all about customers. And that's really, for me, like what our leaders should, like every day, they're thinking about that. I think under the people side, definitely to Jess's point, and what I love to do, no matter if it's our people inside the organization, our people outside of the organization that could be potential additions to our team, or our customers, it's really waking up every day and saying, how can I connect with them in a meaningful way? How can I connect with that person on my team to really, really help them be successful in their day, in their week, in their year, in how they feel about their day to day? And how can I help in connecting with our customers or potential customers? But it is just so, to Jess's point, for a sales leader today is not about the calendar being filled with tasks on reporting and things like that. It's connection with people, your own, your future people. What are you wanting to build, and the customers in which you want to, not only, do business with, but really evangelize what we're doing, why we do what we do. And so I just think that if I can imagine and visualize every sales leader's calendar, that's what it should scream. So it's time with your people, like Jess said. It's time to recruit new people for the organization for the future of what we're doing. And it's time with your customers. Now, again, there's tasks in all of that, right? To deliver customer results, there's tasks that are involved with that. But if it's not pointing to one of those things, then, we're probably missing the beat.
Yeah. So let's stay on that for a second. So you made the reference about a sales leader today, the importance of people, the task has shifted. We know the role of a sales leader has changed. I mean, it's changed over the last 5 years. It's changed over the last couple of years, right? What do you think are the really important things that sales leaders, that make strong sales leaders today? That would be one. And what do you think we need in a sales leader moving forward as well? So today and in the future.
Is that for me, Steph?
Yes, go for it.
Okay. So I could go on and on about this, but I think if I wrapped it all in a box and a package together with a beautiful bow, I think the growth mindset. Now, I love that. I love, Angela Duckworth's book that talks specifically about the growth mindset. And people call it mindset, people call it attitude, whatever you want to call it. I love the growth mindset because I think it's so important today. And the reason it's so important today is not only our industry, but the world and the accelerated change that is out there, that if you are not leading with a growth mindset and really influencing your people that you're leading and your organization and the philosophy of that and your interactions with your customers, is the curiosity, the willingness to learn, the understanding that we have to be super agile in this moment in time. And again, I think, Stephanie, that has changed so much. It's been changing slightly, but during the pandemic, wow. And I think that accelerated pace of that change is going to continue. So I just think sales leaders, when you're really trying to get the feeling, the emotion, the influence, the backing, if you are not coming to the table with a growth mindset, it is very difficult to keep up. And you've got to see all of this change as opportunities, and you have to learn during that cycle to actually capitalize on the opportunity. So I just think I put it in that box with a beautiful fit and growth mindset. I think it's just really, really key in so many of the other things that is required out of a sales leader today.
I think that is a perfect little box wrapped in a bow. It's really good. So Jess, what do you think are some of the biggest differences from then to now and in the future with sales leaders?
The one that I alluded to earlier, but I can't tell you how much time I used to spend pulling reports and then putting those reports, taking all that data and putting it into Excel spreadsheets and then trying to find meaning on all of it and trying to identify trends. it's beautiful. It's all there now, right? Like
Yeah.
I've got this lovely dashboard that I can go to, and in 2 minutes, I've got a really good understanding of where things are, of what categories are growing, of how individuals are doing, what our growth areas are year over year, and what our deficiencies are, things that I need to be on the lookout for. So I'm much more able to then take that and find the stories and then start asking great questions. So I think, leaders today don't need to be able to just like analyze that data. You don't need to be able to be as great as you used to at all of that, at being able to actually plug it into the Excel sheet and do those types of things. But you need to be able to find the stories in the data and then ask great questions. So I think that's a big, thing that's really important right now. I think one of the other things that's super important is being able to help our people and coach to smart business conversations. I mean, I think you'll be able to talk about sales and sales cycle and closing the business, but really, we need to be great business consultants these days. Our people need to be smarter, more in tune to business trends, more up to date on current events, really understanding what's going on in the world of these customers that we work with, right? So I think being able to coach them and have a really good base understanding of business principles is probably more important than ever in being a great sales manager.
Yep. I so agree. And I know that's something that we spend a lot of time on, is thinking about how do we get that level, starts with the talent and the people that we're hiring, right? But how do we really develop them to have those business acumen conversations and the importance of that, and how much better we do in the sales process when we do have those.
I'll add kind of other stuff. One of the things I think about is accountability. So, we were always accountable to our clients, and we would see that if they came back and we would ask them questions about, hey, how did that work? Did you meet, your KPIs? But I think one of the things that with technology that we're better able to do, whether it be as a seller or as a sales manager, is we're better at being accountable to our clients now with some of the tools that we have.
Yeah.
And I think that can be kind of vulnerable to put it out there and say, hey, did this work? And we can look at the data together and we can see if it worked. But, I think that people have to be bold in that way to really put their solutions out there, check in on a regular basis, continually optimize their solutions for their clients, and really ask the questions. Did it work? And be accountable. So I think, holding our AEs and our salespeople accountable is important. But in turn, we all have to do a better job these days, particularly related to the past, of how accountable we are to our clients, because there's just so many options that they have, so many ways you can go.
I'll piggyback on something that you said that I think is really important, that what the job of the sales manager used to be is really a lot about pulling reports. Any of us that used to be in the sales manager seat 5 years ago, 10 years ago, most of our time was spent pulling reports, going around to every cube and go, where you at? What do you got? Right. I mean, and we spent so much time. There was an article in HBR 6 months ago that talked about mid-level managers are going to go away. But if you really read the article, what it was saying is mid-level managers that spend all of their time pulling reports are going to find themselves out of a job, because technology can do it better and faster. But what we need to do to survive is what you said: find the stories, look through the data, be the expert, teach your people how to ask the better questions and have business conversations. I mean, I don't think we can make a big enough deal about that point, because that is how it's changing.
Yeah. So final question for each of you. So Nicki, coming to you first.
Yep.
So just looking in the future, think 3 to 5 years from now, tell us what you think some of the biggest changes in a sales department will be, or in the sales organization.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest changes is going to be is that there's this, like, we finally recognize that what we do each and every day is different than what we've done. I mean, it's just going to be, I think, a further understanding, recognition, and acceptance and excitement that our jobs are different. And, where I've always thought, gosh, we have really great sellers, and we do. But to stay really great sellers, really great leaders, we've had to evolve to not just work with our existing customer base, not just work with, negotiating. It is loving to connect with your current customers and potential customers that you can help, and loving that and waking up every day, like I said earlier, and doing that. So I think that really, if I were to look 3 years out, Stephanie, it's that we are further along in having a full team of sellers in a particular market that really understand that. They accept that, they understand it, and they really love it. And I think that we're still kind of in the acceptance stage, that it's different.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has to come to that place, land in that place in their own time, their own way. And quite honestly, there's decisions that have to be made.
Yeah.
But I love it. I think we're in sales. We just now have a new understanding of what sales means in our industry. And that's different than what it was. And I think that 3 years from now, you're really going to have a team that's like energized by that. They feel passionate. They feel committed to that. And they really see the opportunity much larger than how things were served to us before.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah. And I know you referenced acceptance in this, but knowing you and words you use a lot is, how do we accelerate it from here? How do we really accelerate to get to what you're describing in those 3 years? So what would you, Jess, what would you add?
I think about the structure of a sales department and how that's changing. And it has changed over the past, 3 to 5 years, but I think it's going to continue to change. And I think if we look at, the way that we're working too, and this blend of kind of like remote and in-person working, and the way we have to serve our clients and our product suites and how those are all evolving, I think that's going to continue to accelerate. I think that the account executives or your salespeople are going to continue to have to become smarter, better business people. Yeah. And I think there's going to be all sorts of additional roles that, keep growing in their scope of responsibility and what they're doing, whether it be, customer service representatives, account managers, digital strategists, all of those types of roles that are just becoming more and more important to our organization. Yeah. So I think that'll really accelerate. And I, kind of in any department now, overseeing a station, every single time a role becomes open or we look at reorganization, the needs of the team, the needs of our clients, the needs of the organization change. And I think we constantly have to be thinking about, how do we evolve the structure of the organization to best serve our clients?
Yeah. It's smart. It's that constant reevaluation of, is this the right thing? Can we serve better our clients? What roles do we need? How do we get creative in filling those positions? I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, but it's smart to keep thinking about it, right? So Matt, I'm going to come to you and let us wrap it up, but thank you both so very much for joining us today. I knew you would be a fantastic guest, and you were. So Matt, take us away.
Absolutely. And Justin and Nicki, let me echo what Stephanie just said. Thank you so much for taking your time, not only to be here today, but also to prep for being here today. I know that takes time out of your day, but we really do appreciate it. I do want to if you want to connect with Nicki, her LinkedIn profile is up on the screen. You can do that. And if you want to connect with Jess, you can you can connect with her on LinkedIn. One thing that Beth put up there that I want to show everyone, obviously Beth heads up our talent department, but also is the leader of our new division, Up Your Culture. And, she wanted just to point out that while culture is hard to pinpoint, you can measure employee engagement, and there is a direct correlation between engagement and revenue performance. It's smart that you guys are doing that, and putting an exclamation point on that after this conversation just seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
All right. So next week, we have 2 more amazing guests, Lori Clark and Dana Nagel. Super excited about both of them. You're going to absolutely love them. I'm sure we'll get a lot of opinions and conversation going. Go to our YouTube channel. We have put up on our YouTube channel all of the speakers that we're going to have this month. They're fantastic. You're going to want to set a reminder so that you can join us each week. And again, Stephanie, thank you so much for co-hosting. This
Sure.
was absolutely awesome.
It was
I
fun.
loved it. And again, Jessica, Nicki, thank you. Have a great day. We'll talk to you
Thank
guys.
you both.
Thanks for having us.